Welcome back to the morning show. It's Wednesday, Wise Guy time. Our U of I physics professor Matt Sellen is back here today. We're talking about the air temperature outside and wind chill and kind of how that plays into the atmosphere and
right.
Basically how you derive that.
Right, exactly. So we'll talk about that in a sec. I just wanted to remind folks of the thing we did last time.
Sure.
We put, we had this thing where we squeeze it in and it was clear, higher pressure. We let it go. It got cloudy, lower pressure. Before that, we put the little bit of smoke in there. The smoke has nothing to do with what you see as the mist in there. The smoke was just a way for the little water drops to form. Yeah, so that was fine. And so anyways, let's put this away. We can come back to that if we have time. Measuring temperature is always interesting. You have to look for some way that temperature affects physically some object so that you can and you can see how much it changes will tell you what the temperature changes, stuff like that. And so two very common ways are you just have alcohol thermometers like this thing right here. There's a little bulb of alcohol. And alcohol, like most materials, when it gets warm, it expands a little bit. And so all you have with this thermometer is you have a little container at the bottom, a little reservoir where you have some alcohol, and then you have a very, very skinny hole up the middle of this glass tube, so skinny that even if this volume of this alcohol down here changes by just a tiniest little amount, it's going to push it a long way up through the little hole in this thing. So that's how the thermometer works. Another way is that something called a bimetallic strip. This is what you have inside a lot of old thermostats. You just have two different kinds of metals slapped together, and since the two metals are arranged so that one expands or contracts more with temperature, if you get this thing cold, it starts out straight, but as it gets cold, it gets a curve to it, okay? And then when it heats up, it straightens out again. Okay, so that's how you measure temperature. Now, wind chill is a different thing altogether. Wind chill is something that humans experience, okay? So if you took a thermometer out on a cold day with no wind or a cold day with a lot of wind, it's going to read the same number.
Sure.
Okay, the temperature actually doesn't change. But what happens is that you perceive things as much colder, and it has to do basically with two things. You have the first law of thermodynamics, which says that heat always flows from hot to cold. So your face is hot, the air is cold, okay? The other thing is that air is actually a pretty good insulator. And so I can illustrate that. I have a little, you should never do this at home, I have a little liquid nitrogen here, and I can actually pour it on my hand, and you can see it's kind of scooting around. I'm not freezing my hand right now because what happens is as the liquid nitrogen boils in my hand, you get a very thin layer of gas between the liquid and my hand, and that insulates that very cold stuff from hurting my hand, right? And so basically that little tiny cushion of air kept my hand from freezing. In the same way, as you're outside on a day which is very, very calm, your face is warm, there's a layer of warm air right next to your face which kind of insulates you against all the other air.
Oh, I see.
Okay, the cold stuff. Now that warm air will rise just the same way as our hot air balloon rose, and so you'll eventually you'll get cold.
Right.
But that little layer of warm air helps keep you from freezing too fast. But if you have wind, that wind basically blows away that layer of warm air and replaces it with cold air.
Feels a lot colder.
It feels a lot colder. So what they've done is they've figured out how cold it feels, how long it takes to get frostbite at a certain temperature and things like that, and that's what wind chill really means.
Very good, Matt. Well, thanks for the knowledge on the wind chill. So otherwise, it's really cold outside.
It's just darn cold.
That's it.
I'm glad I have a heater in my car.
There you go. Fire that baby up. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. If you have any questions for Matt, our Wise Guy, send them to the morning show, or you can go to his very own website, wiseguy.net.